What's up, Dominators? Welcome back to the TCGCI channel. Today, I have a very special video, so I'm just gonna start doing this for most of the sets I hope for. Upcoming for Weiss Schwarz. It's basically the whole set rundown, a set review of the whole example for this. I'm going to do for Hololive Vol.2. So I'm going to go through every card in the set and see like how good is it and what application it has in each deck and whether overall the set was good or not. I'll rate it in a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best and then 1 being the worst, of course. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So this video is going to be a bit long, so I'm going to put probably like timestamps in the video as to which color, because we're based on going off these colors. And then of course, if you want to have a look at this whole set yourself, I will actually have a link in the description down below to this PDF on Weiss Time. It's a really good site for you to use for any upcoming set translations, and all the cards that are in Japanese will be translated here, so you can check that out yourself. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. First, we got Hololive Volume 2, double rares, yellow color Kanata, so I think it's pretty much standard. It's a $20 card for really good reason. So during your opponent's turn, you find more hand gains 1 level and 1k firepower, so it's 3k level 1 on your opponent's turn, so it can't get level 0 bomb. And then standard Ricky skill, pay 1 clock top, deck search 1 level 1 lower character add to hand. So it's really good, of course, $20 card, and in terms of its utility, it's almost special in any deck. Even if you don't run yellow, it's a pretty standard Ricky that you always use. Moving on to RR Calliope, so this is where the bullshit really gets really weird and strong, I would say. I think the set has, this set overall, the best finisher is obviously Gura, which we'll get to later. But sets that have Soul Trigger, especially like Mori and Ina, which is the Myth members, the EN members, if you guys don't know, is really strong. So we can see that Calliope, being a 1/0 card, it's a cost 0 card, having a soul is really strong. So calling with 2 or more characters against 3k, so it's 5k5. When attacks, if you have the climax, the choice climax, all your characters are Hololive, me up to 4, choose 1 level, X or lower character from waiting room, add it to hand. This gets 500 power, and X equals the number of cards with soul trigger milled. So the good thing about Kelly is because it pairs very well with Gura, in which Gura needs soul triggers and she needs to mill soul triggers in order to shoot damage. And Calliope being a 0 cost unit with a soul trigger, I think is really insanely strong as well. So it ties in really well with the overall Myth deck, and at the same time it's a level 1 CX that pluses anyway, so it's pretty good, level 1 CX. Moving on to RR Subaru, so I think it's pretty standard. It's not much people will actually run this, but of course, you know, those Shuba fans would ideally want to run it because of your Oshi. Says combo when choice plays with another character, or like character, under an opponent gains 2 abilities. Pay 1, you perform trigger check twice, and when front attack, you return this to hand. And when this attacks, if all our characters are Hololive, choose one of your Hololive characters gain 1k5. So inherently, it doesn't really gain power during your turn or anything. It's on when attack, you choose one of the characters against 1k5. So it's pretty good for beating over cards that like standby decks where their powers are really big, while you know Subaru can pump 1k5 to any of the characters on board, since it's on attack skill, and it's not really tied to the CS combo for the power. So even if you don't play a CS, you still can pump power elsewhere if you really needed to. But other than that, this card is alright. I would say it's a pretty standard level 1 6. It doesn't really plus. It's just you can just keep looping the card over and over again, where you know you play a CX, your opponent fronts it, you bounce back to hand, and then if you try a climax, you can always play the climax out using the pay 1 perform trigger check twice. So yeah, pretty decent card. Lapis Darkness, quite interesting finisher as well. I would say this is probably one of the other better finishers as well compared to Gura. Gura is probably the top tier finisher of the set. 3/2 Lapis Darkness, on plays Q1 when you attack with the choice 6 against vulnerability auto. This ability can be activated up to once per turn. When this card's damage is cancelled, deal 1 damage to your opponent X times. X equals to 1 if the total number of this card if you have is 1 or less, 2 if you have 2 or more. So if you have only 1 of her on the field and your opponent cancels, you shoot 1, but if you have at least 2 or more of her on the field when your opponent cancels, you shoot 1 twice. So yeah, I think it's decent in a sense where you can actually lane 3 Laplas. It's pretty much almost lethal, or you get to at least do a few instances of damage. But of course, in this sense, if your opponent's at 3/0, you ideally would want to at least do 1 damage like let one attack through so that you can deal up to 7, because if you think about it, Laplace Darkness only deals up to 6 if your opponent cancels all 3, so it still won't kill your opponent. But other than that, I think it's a pretty decent finisher for actual 0 cost. The cost is literally just to play a climax and gain stability, so it's pretty good. 0 Mel, activate afterwards per turn when you use your ability gains 1k, rest this, pay on rest this, choose one opponent, choose one of your characters, gains vulnerability on reverse, you salvage 1. I think it's alright. Applications wise, I think most of the time you will run it in a Mel deck, because Mel, if you notice, following the old Volume 1 set, it actually uses a lot of X abilities to gain power, to gain the ability. So having an X skill and able to on reverse salvage, I think is pretty decent. So yeah, it's alright. Moving on to a very popular 00 Iroha. This card is really expensive for some reason, but I mean the art looks amazing, so that might be one of the reasons why. When placed on stage for hand, reveal top card with a character or the Hololive event. We'll get to later. Choose our characters against 2k, so well, it's not bad, yeah. And then our personal opponents draw phase, Vol.2 if it's level 2 or higher, you may return this card back to your hand. So yeah, even though it's 1k only, it's potentially a 3k card, as long as you don't reveal a climax or any other event that's not the Secret Society Holo X. And other than that, it's loopable as long as you hit a level 2 or higher during your Vol.2. So yeah, I think it's a decent card. Yeah, I would say you'll probably run it maybe if you really have no other early game. But other than that, I think it's alright. It's not really that strong or anything. So yeah, moving on with rare Matsuri to a last start against 1 level and 1k power, so it's 3k level 1. Pay on each one on plays, deck search 1 character add to hand. So standard skill, I think 3k at level 1. I'll take it or leave it because you have 2 or less stock. Once you hit the 3 stock and above, the skill doesn't really apply that. But there are cards that are better anyways that allows you to deck search on place, so like Mio. But if you want a budget option, sure, you can go for Matsuri. 00 Amelia, I think this is what the myth deck runs as well. You run like 1 or 2 copies of Amelia on place. Not on place. When stand from stage to waiting room, review top 3 cards of your deck. If you want or more, choose 1 character with a soul trigger, add it to hand, send the rest to waiting room, and discard 1 card. So yeah, it's interesting that you have to discard even though you didn't add anything. So take note, yeah, if you actually do not hit a soul trigger card, you actually still have to discard 1 card because it's part of the cost. It says that choose up to 1 soul trigger card, add to hand, and then send the western return and discard 1 card. So it is fully part of the skill. But other than that, it helps you search out your climaxes. So in this case where you are actually playing 8 pens for the Gura deck, you can salvage pens, you can salvage other cards that has a soul trigger, like Mori Calliope, we've seen before, it has a soul trigger. You can salvage Ina, you can salvage multiple cards, especially if you're playing like Kanata Gura, which I'll get to later. So yeah, it's a decent card. 1-0 Watame during your turn for each of our other characters, this gains 1k. On place the stage, Mewtwo, there's climax among this card, show up to 3 other characters against 1 soul. Not really relevant, I would say. It's okay card in a very jank deck, but applications wise you probably wouldn't run it at all. I mean, it's okay card, interesting card. 1-1 Kiara, assist to all Hololive characters, level assist. And some of the climax phase, look at top card of the deck, so sure. And then rest this, when you use accelerate, if this card is standing, you will pay the cost. If you do choose 1 character in your waiting room and send it to stock. So it's pretty interesting. Applications wise, you probably wouldn't run it. Even though yes, when you get a free stock, I guess, every time you use accelerate, but there are way more stuff in this set that are just inherently better than this card. So unless you're really going for like a weird build, or like you really like Kiara a lot and you really like to run this card, sure, you can go ahead and run it, I would say. But it's probably not really optimized to run this card in most of the builds, especially if you're playing Accelerate as well. Unless you're really playing like a full Accelerate, then then sure, go ahead. 3-2 Coronate Con, if you have 2 or more Hololive Gamers event, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, in your waiting room against -1 level, when attacks through this gets X amount of power, X equals the number of Hololive characters times 1000. Pay on this one when it's reverse, you may pay the cost if you do rest this and then reverse this card's better opponent. So interesting card, I would say. I seen this kind of cards before, but other than that, it doesn't really have much application against maybe like standby decks or decks that have bodyguard that kind, because it's an early play and it's only AK5, but the whole point of it is to get reverse, and then after that you use a skill on reverse pay on strong character, rest this card and then reverse this card's battle opponent. So yeah, the application wise is not really that good, so you would probably wouldn't run it. It's probably for some budget deck as well. While Koyori is a different story. So if you have two or more copy of this, your waiting room gains -1 level, so it's early play. Con, if you have two or more other Hololive characters, it gains 1k5, so it's 10k5 with an auto on call discard one character, so it's pretty good. And on play, search your deck for one Hololive character, show it to your opponent, add to your hand, and shuffle your deck afterwards. So even though it doesn't heal, it still deck searches any card, add it to your hand, so it refunds its own cost. At the same time, it's 10k5 with an on call ditch one character, so it's pretty good. So yeah, sorry, I'm still a bit sick. Alright, let's move on to 3 to flat. So if you have a 0 0 Noel in your clock, it gains -1 level hand. So this Noel, which we'll get to later, it's a 3k runner level 1. Yeah, I'll get to the skill later. On place a stage from hand, we have now character choose one of the following two effects resolve. You may heal one or put top card of your slot into the waiting room. Draw one card and choose one. Together future Shogun Noel in your hand and place it any slot. So this card is pretty interesting towards the future together Shiogane Noel. It's the old set, the original set Noel. So let's just do a transition here. Let's see, we can do, let's just do a transition here. So we are on Little Kiva now. Actually didn't prep this, so I actually have to go and see. This is the card right here. So this is the card. If you have two or less climax against one level, and then when placed on stage from hand, it gets 4k5, and during this card's battle, both players cannot play assist. And pay 2 when this card attacks, you may Icy Tail bot 3 of your opponent's cards. If it's a climax, you deal 1. So yeah, I think it's an okay card that you can early play this and the Noel as well. And for Flare, at the same time, if you really don't have the Noel, you can just heal 1. So you choose one of the following 2 effects and resolve it. But other than that, it cheats out this Noel really well. If you want to get rid of cards that are really annoying, especially against standby, against the Noel against 4k5, so it's 15k until the end of your opponent's next turn, which is really strong. And your opponent can't play backup or anything, so they're just there to let their card die. But yeah, other than that, this is a pretty decent card. With a 0-0 Corone, Con Mem, if this is your Mem, you have 2 more characters. Your Hololive Gamers in your hand gains counter. So this Gamers event, let's just go back here. It's, if I'm not wrong, it's a top 4 at 1. So it's a TD card. Gamers, yep. So the top 4 cards, your deck choose one Hololive character, show your opponent at the hand, based on the remaining cards in the waiting room. So it gains a counter. So it's basically the same thing as freaking Damachi, Hestia Knife, or Kaguya's level 1/6 combo. When placed on stage your hand, choose one of other characters, Hololive characters, gains 1k. Pay 1, send this standing character to memory, choose one Birthday Party, Inugami, Corone, or 3-2 Corone in your waiting room at edit 10. So the 0-1-1 is this Corone, I guess, and the other one, which is T060, I actually have no idea. It should be either the trial deck one or like, yeah, it's a trial deck level 1 CX, so you can read the skill yourself probably. I think I won't get into the skill too much, but other than that, it's a decent card if you're playing a gamer's deck, because you're basically playing for the memory skill, where your event gets the counter, and then you are able to top 4 at 1 during your opponent's turn, and you can play the event during your opponent's turn. Zero Flare, when you play on stage with your top card of the deck, it's Hololive character against 4k, so it's 5k5 actually. And then discard one card when it attacks, choose one other Hololive characters return to hand. So I guess it's alright. There's some applications. It's 5k5, it's really big, as long as you don't reveal an event or a climax. And then on attack, you discard one card and bounce one of your characters back to hand. So yeah, it's alright, it's not bad. Canada, yeah, when you pay the cost of your Hololive 4th generation event, you may send one marker underneath this card to waiting room instead of 1 stock. So it's pretty strong. If you guys don't know what the event is, let's just jump right into the event. So Gen 4 event. It's a 3 Level 3 4 cost event. You may choose 3 of your characters from your hand, place in your waiting room. You did deal 4 damage to your opponents 2 times, so pay 4, ditch 3 characters, and then deal 4 twice. So this reduces the cost by 1 stock because you stand 1 marker underneath this card instead of 1 stock. And add Brainstorm, pay 1, flip top 4. For each climax, choose 1 character in your waiting room add to hand, so salvage. And if the event, this particular event is sent to sent to waiting room by this effect, the Brainstorm effect. And the total number of cards you have as markers is 4 or less. You may choose up to 1 Gen 4 character in your waiting room and place it under this card as a face-up marker. So yeah, this card basically helps you pay your event easier. It reduces the cost by 1 stock every time you hit the event in your Brainstorm, so it's pretty good. As usual, Watame, when placed on stage, your hand, choose one of your opponent's front rows, cost 0 or lower green or green pepper characters, you may send it to waiting room. So this green pepper is probably a reference to Watame not liking green peppers, I assume. And on reverse, top 3 add 1 character, discard 1. So yeah, pretty standard. It's not bad, I would say. It really have a hatred against green characters, I would say. Just Subaru when placed on stage from hand, may mill 3, pay on ditch 1 climax, so it's a climax stopper, and then choose 1 climax everything at hand. So yeah, most of you wouldn't really play this. You'll play the Ina 00 instead because it's a soul trigger, and on play you scry top 2 rearrange. But if you have trouble fulfilling yellow color, yeah, you should probably still play Subaru instead of Ina, because Ina is blue. 1-0 Matsuri, if you have 2 or more other Hololive characters against 2 following abilities. Con when attack, choose 1 characters against 1k5. And then on con, ditch 1 character. And the last ability, auto, this ability can be activated once per turn when you use act effect against 1 soul. So probably Matsuri is running with Aki, where you use a lot of X skills during your turn and then gains the following abilities, whatever ability, as long as you use X skill. But otherwise this card's application is alright, I guess. It's 5k5 with on ditch 1 and gains a soul. As long as you use the egg ability, it's alright. 1-0 Laplace Darkness, Auto Resonance. Discard 1 card, reveal a 3-2 Laplace Darkness, so it runs on the Resonate engine. The 3-2 Laplace Darkness is the one that we just went through, which is the double rare finisher. When placed on stage, your hand, to the top 3, choose 1 secret character, Holo X character, or the event from among them. Show your opponent, add to the hand, send the Western waiting room, and during this turn it gains 500 power. So I guess it's fine in a sense where you get to dig for your event or any Holo X character. So Holo X is the Gen 6, including Laplace, Louis, Chloe, Iroha, and one more if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I forgot who the last one is already, which we'll get to later anyways. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not really well versed with Hololive Gen 6. 2-1 Mel assist 500. Pay on ditch 1 when placed on stage on hand. Should pay the cost. Search your deck for 1 Mel art. Yorozora Mel, place it on stage in any slot. Shuffle your deck afterwards. And then this card, if I'm not wrong, it's an older card. 019, 018. If I'm not wrong, should be this. Yep. So it's a level 2 CX, is almost similar. I wouldn't say similar. Yeah, I'm actually high. When reverses, if you have the climax, top 2, show up to 2 characters, show it to your opponent, place them to stock any order, and then salvage 1 character from waiting room. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I used to run this back in the day because I think it was pretty interesting. It gives you free stock at the same time it salvages as long as you reverse one of your opponent's characters, and it gains X times 500 as long as you use X skill. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Let's distribute our Hololive characters and then our opponent next turn against 1k. So there you go, the X skill is right there. It's free basically. And it gains 1k until our opponent next turn, which is pretty good. 2-1 Courier assist X500, resonate reveal 3-2 Lapas Darkness, so it's the engine. Rest distribute our opponent final characters against minus 1k, and vulnerability during this card battle you cannot play backups. Probably a one-off. You probably won't run more than one-off in the Gen 6 deck. And yeah, I guess it prevents backups for that battle, so sure. 2-1 Iroha, when this card is placed, when this card level 2 or higher battle points reverse, you may put a top card of your deck into stock, so I guess it refunds its own cost. Resonate reveal 3-2 Lapas Darkness, as start card space in player cost, you do against 6k, so it's 12k5. I wouldn't say it's like a level 3 killer or anything, because it just says um, when this card's level 2 or higher battle points reverse, you may put top card deck to stock, so you stock one for free. But being a 12k 5 level 2 attacker, most of the time you are able to beat most level 3s, unless you're standby deck and then you gain a lot of power or anything. But other than that, yeah, it's a pretty good card. I would say you can run like 1 or 2 copies off in the engine, since you use your 3-2 Laplace finisher anyways. Atoa Emilia, when it attacks, gains X amount of power, X equals the number of Hololive characters, that's 1000. So interesting accelerate skill, put one Hololive character from waiting room to the bottom clock. As start of current space, you may pay a cost if you do against 1k and the following ability. When this card's battle point reverse, you may put top 2 cards from top of your deck to stock. So you stock 2 for free with, I guess, stock 2 for free in the exchange of you having to accelerate 1. So you take 1 damage, but you stock 2 for free. Yeah, I guess it's interesting. But most of the time, you wouldn't actually run this. Maybe in like some budget gen deck, but other than that, yeah, you wouldn't want to run this card at all. But I like the art a lot, I guess. I mean, that's art's pretty clean. Laplace Darkness 00, discount one character when placed on stage your hand. Search your deck for the event. Show the opponent at your hand, so it's pretty good. The event which we'll get to later in the next 10 cards. When reverse your opponent is level 0 or lower, send the character to stock. So it's a level 0 stock bomb. Pretty standard. It's a good card overall. 00 Kiara, if it has a marker underneath, it gains 3k, so it's 4k. When placed on stage your hand, reveal top card. If it's a character or event, you may put this underneath as a face down as a marker. So it's not a chase or anything, but it is a 4k level 0, but obviously that's the level 0 bomb. You can literally look at the above card that we just went through. A 00 Watame, when discard Hololive characters for effect of the event, this 4th generation event, which we just went through just now. The shoot for twice, this event. You may discard this card instead of 2 Hololive characters. So yeah, it counts as 2 Hololive characters. So if you're playing a Gen 4 deck, you ideally want to take this card in. And at the start of an attack phase, if there's a character across from this, you may move this to an empty front row slot. So it's a runner basically. So yeah, it's a pretty good level 0. At the same time, when you play the event, you may discard this instead of 2 Hololive characters. It saves you a card in hand. As usual, Mel, this card cannot side attack because it's 3k. Activated after once per turn, when you use the act ability against 1k5, and when this card's battle barrel is reversed, you may send the character to stock. You do put the bottom card of your opponent's stock in the waiting room. So I guess it's a level 0. It's not a level 0 bomb, it's more of like a get rid of those level 0s that has an on-death ability, like Akatsuki's, on-death Ricky's, Aquas, I guess, that kind, where you pay 1 clock bottom, reveal top 2 at all characters. 1-0 Flare, when this attacks, this turn gets X amount of power, X equals the number of Hololive characters times 1000, and then bond with the Towards the Future Together Shirogane Noel, so it's the 3-2 Noel that we ran through earlier, the 15k one, and then Icy Tail bot 3. Or the 2-1 Noel 1-4-1, which we'll get to later, I guess is standard level supporter if I'm not wrong. 1-0 Irha, during your turn, your other character in the front row center slot against 1k5. And Brainstorm, pay 1 flip floor for each climax, you salvage 1. So it's pretty interesting to see is that's a level 1 Brainstorm, 2k power, and your other front row character in the front row center slot gains 1k5 power. So I guess, yeah, the applications are there in the Gen 6 engine. So yeah, it's just level 1, so you gotta wait like at least one, you at least have to hit level 1 in order to use it. Once your Coronet, when placed on stage with your hand, it gains X amount of power, X equals the number of Hololive characters times 500. And when this card's battle opponent is reversed, you have another character, you may draw and ditch 1. Probably not applicable, you probably won't run it. So yeah, other than that, it's meh, it's a meh card. Atoa Matsuri, which is counter, pay 1, when you use this card backup, you play the cost, you do choose 1 card in one of this card, and everything will add it to hand. So it just loops the loop, I would say, it loops itself back into hand for an additional 1 stock. So yeah, if you really do have a lot of stock and you do want to keep playing counters every turn, ideally yes, you would want to run this card. But in that application wise, you probably won't run it. 2-1 Koyori backup, when you choose this card's backup, choose one battling characters against vulnerability. When this card battle opponent's reverse sent to memory, so this probably has more applications. It's a 3K backup as well, so on reverse you send it to memory, so you can screw with a lot of decks, especially like Sword Online, where your Silica Finisher needs at least 4 or more other characters on board. So if you use this, that's basically the end of their CS combo, because you send the better opponent to memory. So yeah, good card, you probably run it. 2-1 Subaru for each other barrel Hololive characters against 2K. Experience when this card is better opponent reverse. If you have a red and a blue card in level zone, reveal top card of the deck. If it's level or higher, add it to hand. You wouldn't run it because it's a 2-1, and the costs of you adding that card is quite conditional as well, because it needs to be level or higher, and of course you need experience as well. But other than that, I think it's, yeah, you wouldn't run this card. A 2-1 countdown when you attack against X amount of power, as equals to the number of holiday characters times 1000. And pay 1 and start opponent type face, you may pay the cost. You lose, choose one of the holiday characters and discard stand and swap them. So it's basically like a breached version of 1-1 Yoshino in their life that got combo banned. But of course the Yoshino is more strong because it's anti-level as well. You ideally wouldn't run this card as well unless you really want to in a standby deck, I would say. But other than that, you wouldn't want to call it at all. Yeah, you wouldn't want to run it. So yeah, we get to the 1-1 Secret Society Hololive event. So if you have 2 or less Secret Society Hololive character cannot be played. So you have to have all 5 members on board in order to play this card. Search your deck for 1 climax, trigger the opponent, add to your hand, shuffle your deck, and then choose one of your characters against 2k power. So it's a really good card. Number 1, it searches 1 climax, any climax, add it to your hand. So, but basically, of course, you have to run in the Gen 6 engine because you can't play it with 2 or less Gen 6 characters. And then after that, you choose one of your characters against plus 2k power. For 1 cost, this card is really good. It refunds itself back due to you searching your climax, and then at the same time, it gains pumps power to one of your characters on board. So yeah, it's a really good event. Alright, let's take a quick water break before we move on to the green cards. Alright, sorry, still a bit sick. Alright, let's move on to the green. So we have a 0-0 Mew. So this card is pretty strong, I would say. It's a really good card. When placed on stage right hand, look at top 2 cards from top of your deck. Choose up to 2 cards from one, then place them on top in any order, or send the rest to the waiting room. So you're able to manipulate the top 2 cards of your deck as long as this card is placed on stage from hand. So it's really good. You can mill it or you can leave it on top if you feel that you see like at least 1 climax on top. You are more inclined to maybe leave it on top and brainstorm for a free plus. The second skill as well is really strong. Pay 1, ditch 1 when this card is placed on stage from hand, or sent from stage to waiting room. You pay the cost if you do search your deck for 1 character, add it to hand, and shuffle your deck afterwards. So it's on place and on death skill, which is really, really good. The only downside is finder power, but of course you can't have everything in the world where you get power and an insane amount of skills as well. So yeah, overall it's a really good card. I recommend that you at least run like 2 copies of it in most decks. With a 0-0 Iris, when trigger checks the soul trigger, choose one characters against 1k, and then typical brainstorm, flip top 4, for each climax you hit, you salvage 1 character. Another 3-2 Towa, double rare on place, you may heal 1. Pay 1, ditch 1 when it attacks with the bar CX. Look at 1 card from the top of the opponent's deck, you may place it on top or bottom, and then send the bottom 3 cards of the opponent's deck to waiting room, deal X amount of damage, and against 1k, X equals the number of level 0 sent by this effect. So it's pretty good. You Icy Tail, and at the same time you scry your opponent's top card for pay 1, ditch 1, and you shoot based on the amount of level 0 cards that you milk. So climaxes are considered level 0 as well. So it's a pretty decent Torah finisher, I would say. So yeah, it's pretty good. Let's move on to 0-0 Sora. When placed on stage from hand, you may choose 1 card in your clock, add it to hand, choose 1 card in your hand, put it to clock. So it's basically a swapper. And when placed on stage in your hand, your opponent has 1 or less characters in the front row, choose 1 cost 0 or lower character in your opponent's front row, send it to waiting room. So it's a go second card, I would say, when you get to bomb one of your opponent's front row cards, front row cost 0 or lower character. So it's alright, I guess. You're probably running because of the second skill and not so much of the first skill. But other than that, yeah, it helps fixes the color, I guess, or if any card actually appears in your clock and you want it, you can actually swap. Physical fauna of your order characters gains 500. Send one bar 6 from your client's area to waiting room and start on cost step. You will pay the cost if you do top 4 at one character. So it's a pretty bad card, I would say. Probably one of the worst card combos ever because number one, you only can do this at the start of your own cost step, so it's end of turn. At the same time, you only can do it once because you have to send the bar climax from your client's area to waiting room. So if you have multiple copies of fauna on board, you can't really spam, you can't really plus. So ideally, you wouldn't run this card at all. Level 00 Okayu, when you play an event, you may send this to stop. Really good skill, really good in a gamer's event. And then rest this, choose one of your characters, gains 500 power and the ability, when you reverse your opponent, you may clock kick your opponent, that card, for free, I would say. So yeah, it's not clock kick, sorry. You may send a top card of your opponent's clock to the waiting room, and then you send the character to clock. So it get rid of the character, and prevents for any on death skill. And other than that, after that you play an event, you may send this card to stock, so it's pretty good. 1-0 Bells during your turn, if all your characters are Hololive, he gains plus 2k. 6 combo, when bar 6 is placed, you have 2 more characters, against 2 abilities until the end of your opponent's next turn. During your opponent's turn, this card cannot be reversed. And on attack, look at top 2, shoot 1 card from a moment, then put it on top of the deck, send the rest to waiting room. So it's pretty good that you can scry your top 2 every time you attack, and during your opponent's turn, this card gains a skill con cannot be reversed. So in a sense, it doesn't really plus you. But since it can't be reversed on your opponent's turn, you don't really care or matter at all. So yeah, I guess it's a decent card for a rare. 1-0 Aki, if you don't have another Hololive characters, this card cannot stand during your stand phase, so I guess yeah, sure. This ability can be activated after once per turn. When you use an ability, you may pay 1 to gain the ability. When this card's opponent's reverse, choose 1 character with you at your hand. So yeah, sorry. It gains the following ability. Pay 1 when you reverse, you may salvage 1 character. So yeah, you have to pay the cost first. So yeah. Aki following the standard X skill, X ability in order to as her whole engine. So Fubuki is really good. I like Fubuki as well, as a finisher. So on play, top 3 at 1. It's pretty similar to Marine, but 6 combo, pay on ditch 2, if you have the bar 6, you shoot 2, and then choose up to 2 cards from your opponent's waiting room and shuffle them back to your deck. So it shoot 2 and decompress 2, similar to Silica from Sword Online, but Silica's cost is ditch 2, while this has the additional pay 1. So yeah, I guess it's interesting that it doesn't heal. In a sense, it's pay on ditch 1 because the first skill literally refunds you back 1 of the cost, which is to discard 1 card. But other than that, yeah, it's a decent finisher. Some people said that they might be replacing this with Marine, but Marine is pay on ditch 1, while this is pay on ditch 2. But Marine, of course, you don't get the added benefit of decompressing 2 cards in your opponent's waiting room. Yeah, and other than that, Marine is still pretty much favored because after that, you still have a turn if you cannot end your opponent off because you're able to Hachama beam them with enough hand. 3-2 Luna, if you have 6 or more characters in your waiting room, gains -1 level. And this card on stage gains -3 level, and the character across this cannot side attack. So it's quite interesting that it can be defeated with a level 0 bomb because on stage it gains -3 level. And then discard 1 card when it's placed on stage in your hand, you may pay the cost, choose 1 character in your clock and add it to hand. So I guess it heals. At the same time, you get to filter a little bit because you get back a card from your clock. But other than that, I wish it didn't have the second skill where it gains -3 level. But in the case where it's an 11k power card early play, it's pretty good, I would say, if the second skill didn't exist. As usual, Luna, when placed on stage on hand, look at top card of that, put it at top or bottom. Pay on ditch 1, when placed on stage on hand, look at top X. Choose 1 card, add it to hand, and then send everything to X equals the number of Hololive characters that you have. So it's alright, I would say. It's not particularly good or anything, but it does get the job done in a sense. But there are better cards, I would say, like Bay in the premium booster. It's on place or on death, while this is just on place, so ideally you wouldn't want to run this card as well. 1-0 Okayu, for each other back row characters gains 1k. This ability can be activated once per turn. When you play an event, gains the following ability. When this card's battle opponent, top 3 add 1, ditch 1. So interesting card. You might play 1 or 2 if you're a really big Okayu fan, but other than that, you'll probably have more important cards to run, and you won't have space to run this card. But in terms of budget deck, or you really like Okayu, then yeah, sure, you can consider running this card at 2 off or 1 off. Once you start adding your turn for each other battle characters against 1k, when a card space in your opponent's card same, you may send it to stock. So I've seen players, seen people running this card quite a bit, because it's basically a free stock. At the same time, it's a 6k 5, as long as you have 2 back row Hololive characters. Other than that, it doesn't really fulfill any other purpose other than it being sent to stock. So take note that your opponent still can play around this by not playing a climax at all. But if you anticipate your opponent to play a climax the next turn, because you're playing a level 1 CX, a level 2 CX, a level 3 CX, you can prep this card because it's basically a free stock. 1 more Mio during your turn against 3k. When it's placed on stage your hand, you have 4 more other characters, Hololive characters. You stock back 1 character in your waiting room. And then when this card's battle opponent is reversed, this turn that character cannot use auto on call. So it's an 8k level 1 that kills standby level 1. Yeah, I guess that's about it. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. It runs its own cost as well, as long as it got 4 more characters. So ideally you still wouldn't want to run this, but probably in the green deck, if you have some space, you still can tag like 1 or 2 of these. 2-1 Towa, all your other Hololive characters against 1k. When placed on stage right hand, you may choose 1 Hololive character in your waiting room and place it face down underneath as a marker. Discard 1 character, send 1 marker underneath the waiting room at the start of your attack phase. You may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your 3-2 new 3-2 Aqua. You return against the vulnerability when it attacks, choose 1 opponent's back row characters, and this card may front attack that character as a defending character instead. So that's a lot of words, and probably you won't want to use the skill at all unless you really hate one of your opponent's characters in the back row, like Brainstorm or anything. You really want to attack it for some reason. So yeah, the 3-2 Aqua, which we'll get to later, it's blue. But other than that, I guess this card is alright. I wouldn't say it's very good, but at the same time, most of the time you wouldn't run this card because you have way better cards to run in the deck. 2-1 Fubuki, when attacks, your level of the character across is 3 or higher, against 6k, pretty standard, the level 3 killer. When this card battle is opponent reverse, you have climbing in your climbing area, switch your deck for 1 character, show to your opponent, add to your hand and shuffle your deck afterwards. So, sorry, quick water break. Interesting card. You need to play a climax in order to make it worth though, so they can deck such a character and add it to hand. Other than that, it's a pretty standard level 3 killer for 1 cost. 2-1 Aki for each your opponent other front row, of this card against plus 2k. And then this ability can be triggered after 1 button when it's active ability against 1k 5. So pretty vanilla card where you just gain a lot of power. Yeah, other than that, you wouldn't want to run this card. As just one, when it attacks children or Hololive characters until an opponent next turn against 1k 5 and auto on call each 1. I can see applications in this. It's basically a Cocutus back in Overlord Volume 2 in the JP side. Even though it's very low power, but you still give one of the characters 1k 5 until our opponent next turn and on call each 1, which is pretty good. So yeah, you might want to run this in some specific decks. Jojo Fubuki with a very funny cross. When placed on stage, you hand me 1. If that card is a climax, search your deck for 1 character, show your opponent, add it to hand. And this turn, it gains gold. If not, this turn it gets red. So it's probably some inside reference that this card gains gold. If not, it gains red or something. But other than that, you probably wouldn't run it. It's a meme card as well because you have to hit a climax in order to at least deck such 1 character for free. As usual, Aki, when placed on stage, your hand mill 2 until our opponent next turn against X amount of power. X equals the number of Hololive characters milled times 1000. And at the start of a climax phase, your opponent may send top 2 cards on your top 2 waiting room. If you do this, card front attack. So it's quite interesting. This card, until our opponent next turn is potentially 5k, a level 0 5k. But your opponent can stop this card's attack in a sense by paying to stop, and then this card cannot front attack. So yeah, it's pretty interesting card. Probably wouldn't run it as well. A 1/0 mirror when attacks river top card is level is a character or event chosen on characters against plus 3k. Vanilla as hell because it's 3k 5 level 1, so it's pretty bad card. You wouldn't want to run it. A 1/0 Luna on this card on stage gains -1 level. So it's all Luna always gains like minus some form level just because she's like a baby or something. And during her turn this card gains 4k. So it's a level 0 8k on 8k power on the field. So dice level 0 bombs in a sense. Probably wouldn't run it as well because it's bad. I want just discard on card when placed on stage or hand. You may pay the cost. Choose one of opponent's level 1 or higher characters. You do opponent choose one level X or lower character from the waiting room and swap them. And X equals the level of character chosen by you -1. Applications wise, probably wouldn't run it. It's basically a shittier version of the IMA 3.2 in Hololive Production Volume 1. Yeah, you probably just wouldn't run it. 2-1 OKU backup. When you use this backup, send X amount of cards from the bottom of your opponent's deck to waiting room. X equals the number of Hololive characters. So you can send potentially up to 5 cards from opponent's deck to waiting room. But applications wise, you probably wouldn't run this card as well. It's super. It's like kind of like a meme card. It's a 3k backup though, so I guess that accounts for something. But other than that, the first skill is pretty much irrelevant. A 2-1 Iris when placed on stage in your hand, it gains X amount of power, X equals the number of Hololive characters times 1000. And when this card's battle power is reversed, if you climax in your climax area, choose one Hololive character and you send it to stock. So that it funds its own costs as long as you play a climax. And then gains up to 5000 powers, it's 12k level 2, as long as you have for a full field when it's placed on stage from hand. So I like how they use their Iris new model though. Her old model kind of sucks ass, but in this case they use the new art, the new model's art, which is pretty good. So yeah, that's about it for green, mostly bar CX. Alright, let's move on to red. Zero Polka, return this to hand when a card is placed. Look at top card of the deck, put it on top of the deck, and choose one of the characters against 1k5. So you are able to scrap top card out of the deck and keep looping as long as a card is placed on your card's area. And pay 1 when a card is placed, you may top 4 at 1 character, send them to the waiting room, so it's pretty good. Standby bomb, I would say, because you're able to plus off this card at the same time, give power and scrap top card of the deck. So it's pretty good. You can activate any of the abilities in any order depending on which one you want to activate first, because they are both on standby whenever you play a climax. A 1/0 close, so this is the Gen 6 engine. When it attacks, if you have another character against plus 3k, so 7k power, 8k with climax. Resonate, reveal the 3/2 Lapis Darkness, which is way above from hand. And when this attacks, you door climax, and all your characters are Hololive. Choose one character in waiting room, add it to hand, so it's Savage 1, and reveal top card of the deck if it's level higher, send it to stock. So it's a really good card. It provides you a free stock, or almost free stock, as long as it's level or higher. At the same time, you salvage 1 for free. So it's a passing card as long as you have the resonance target, which is your 3/2 Lapis Darkness. So it's a really good card, I think. It's a really strong card as well. So it's 8k level 1. With a 3/2 IMA early play as well, so this card is really good. If you have 2 or less characters, it gains -1 level. On base on stage from hand, if you have another character, until our opponent turn, this card gains 2k, so it's actually a 10k 5. And when placed on stage from hand, choose one of the following 2 effects and resolve it. It's either top 3 add 1 card, or you may heal 1. So yeah, it's pretty good as a early play because you're able to dig through your pieces. So you either top 3 add 1, or if you really want to heal, you can just heal. So yeah, it's pretty good card. 3 to Ollie, this is basically the meme with Hachama bomb in the earlier volume 1 set. So when it's placed on stage in your hand from hand or by the CS combo of this card, you may heal 1. And the CS combo is pay 1, ditch 1 character when this is in your waiting room at the start of attack phase. If there's a door CX in your climax area and you're level 2 or higher and all your characters are Hololive, you may pay the cost if you do place this on stage in any slot. So it's a pseudo free card, I would say, that you call it at the start of your attack phase. So what Hachama Bomb does, if you guys don't know, is the earlier set TD card. Let's see if we can find it. It's this card. So when it's placed on stage your hand, and you can early play this card, it's a part of the trial, right? You may place all characters from both players except this card into waiting room. If you did this card against the following ability, activated up to once per time, up to one time each turn. When this card damage is dealt, when this card damage is cancelled, sorry, you may deal 3, and then pay 2 dish 2 when attacks you deal 2. So you early play this, bomb, start of your attack phase, you bomb the whole field, including yours, your opponent's field, and then when you play the climax, if you did play the Ollie climax, you can pay 1 additional character and call 2 Ollies out after bombing the whole field, and then you heal 2 at the same time. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty copium combo because you need at least 5 stock and quite a few amount of hand. I think you need at least like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 cards, 5 specific cards. So 5 stock and 5 hand in order to pull off the full combo. But other than that, yeah, Ollie is pretty generic. It's a good card as well. So yeah, thumbs up, pretty good. 0 Roboco, discard 1 card when attacks mill 2. If you mill a climax, choose 1 character in the waiting room, add it to hand. So conditional plus. It's not even a plus, it's like a net actually, cause you discard 1 card. So probably a very bad card. Pay 1 at the start of opponent attack phase, you pay the cost you do, move this to opponent position in your back row. So yeah, it's a pretty bad card for 500 power. Japan's favorite card, 0 Rene, discard 1 card when placed on stage your hand. Review top card, choose 1 level X or lower character in your waiting room and add it to hand. X equals to the level of the review card. And also during this card's battle, when the damage you take is cancelled, you may return this to your hand. So yeah, this is probably like a insane card because you can keep looping it as long as you cancel the damage that you took, because you can bounce it back to hand. So Japan loves this kind of card, and it's a really expensive card for a rare. It's like $5 for some reason. But other than that, yeah, I can see why it's $5. It's warranted because of its ability. So yeah, it's a really good card. I recommend you run it in some of the decks, at least like a 2 or 3 off. Jojo Choco, when placed on stage for hand, review top card. If it's a character event, add it to hand in each one, so it's a filter. X skill, pay 1, send it to waiting room, top 4, add 1 character. So yeah, pretty good. The art is super on point as well. Really, really good art. I pulled the SSP of her, basically, but yeah. And that, the skills wise, really good in the standby deck as well. Yeah, it's really good. Jojo Hato, when attacks, choose one of Hololive characters against 25. When this card's battle opponent reverse, you may send this to memory. If you do, at start of next draw phase, choose this card from memory and place it at any stage in any slot. So in a sense, it disappears for 1 turn, and it comes back as a free card, so your opponent cannot reverse it during that turn or anything. But yeah, it's alright, I would say. Just take note that you will obviously take direct damage because this card is in memory. It won't be able to protect you from the additional soul that your opponent gains from direct attack. So yeah, but other than that, it's an okay card. Zizi Louis, when your character's trigger check reveals the cards, if there's no markers underneath this card, you may choose 1 card from waiting room and put it underneath this card face down as a marker. And then X skill, 7 marker underneath the waiting room, choose 1 of the other characters against 1 soul. So the first and second skill ties in tandem together. Interesting, I guess. You are able to deal more damage or less damage depending on whether you do send a marker or whether you do actually check a climax or not. But other than that, it's a free compress 1 in a sense. X skill, pay 1 resonate to reveal the 3-2 Laplace Darkness, so it's the engine. Top 3, add 1 character or the event, Secret Society Holo X event, and add it to your hand for free. So it's really good. I think the last skill is probably why most of people play, because it's a free plus every turn. Pay 1 resonate, and then top 3 add 1 character or the event, which is really, really good. So yeah, it's a really good card overall. Jojo Anya, when we reverse, if it's a battle opponent's level 0 or lower, we may reverse that character, so it's a level 0 bomb. Pay 1, put a top card of the deck into clock. When send stage waiting room, top 4, add 1 level 1 or higher card, send it to waiting room. So it's a pseudo Ricky. It's not really like you get to deck search level 1 or lower, so it's not very conditional. I mean, there is a condition where you only can add level or higher card, but you can add an event, you can add your level 3 finisher, compared to Ricky's, where Ricky's is basically adding a level 1 or lower card. So yeah, it's not bad, I would say. It's pretty good. 1-0 Nene, when this attacks, if you have 2 more Hololive characters against plus 2k, so it's 5k5. Pay 1 send this to memory when your other Hololive character is being front attack, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of the battling characters against 2k5 power. So pretty good in the Gen 5 standby deck, I would say. You might run 1 or 2 just to, compress even more, because it's pay 1 send this card to memory against 2k5, gives 2k5 power to the battling character. So yeah, and that is a okay card, I would say. 3-2 Miko, when placed on stage from your hand, you may heal 1. When this is reversed, you may return this back to your hand, and when this is reversed, if another Hololive character and the battle opponent level 3 is level 3 or lower, you may reverse that character. Pretty much an irrelevant card. The art style wise is on point, but the skill is pretty much dog shit, so yeah, you probably wouldn't run it. 3-2 Marine, you have 4 more Hololive characters against -1, so it's an early play. And send one of other Hololive characters on stage to waiting room and place your stage from hand. If you do, look at 1 card from the top of your deck, choose 1 level 1 or higher card, show the opponent at the hand, send the rest to the waiting room, and then heal up to 1. So, conditional plus, but at the same time, you heal 1, as long as it's a level 1 or higher card. So, it's almost like a free cost because you set one of your characters on board instead of like discarding 1. But other than that, yeah, it's a decent early play, and the art is just, on point because it's Marine, and who doesn't like a horny pirate, right? Come on. 3-2 Atsuki, all your Hololive characters gets 1k5 power, so it's good in the sense that it doesn't have to be in front row. You can stand by this card out, and it still gives 1k5 power to your whole field. Discard 2 cards at start of your on-call phase. If this card is in your front row and all your opponent's front row slots are empty, you may empty or reversed. If you do deal 1 damage to your opponent and then look at the top card of the deck, you may place it at the top of the deck or waiting room, and until end of the next turn, this gains 1k power. So it's interesting, I guess, to see that it's a discard 2 scry top card with your deck, leave it on top, and then you shoot 1 and gains 1k. I would say the cost is overcosted, but the art is amazing because it's Asuki's new model. Other than that, you'll probably like maybe run 1 or 2 in the standby deck. You wouldn't want to resolve the skill unless you really have a lot of hand on it or something. But it's just for the first skill, which is all your other Hololive character gains 1k5 power, no matter whether they are on the field or not. No matter whether this card is in the front row or not. So yeah, moving on to have a 0 anime. When this is placed on stage from hand, choose 1 card from the level zone and 1 card in waiting room, you may swap them. I guess it's for experience. Discard 1 card. When this card attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, during the trigger step of this attack, you perform it twice. So it's basically discarding 1 card for another stock. It's just a choco. When your character's trigger checks reveal a card, choose one of your characters, it gives 1k. And auto pay 1 disability can be activated after 1 turn. When a card is placed in your level zone, you pay the cost. If you do look up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose 1 Gen 2 character from among them. Show to your opponent, add to hand, send the rest to waiting room. Pretty conditional, I would say, so you probably wouldn't run it because you only can activate, once per turn, and it only works when you level up because it says when a card is placed in your level zone, then you may add a specific Gen 2 character only as well. So yeah, that's even worse. So ideally, you wouldn't want to run this. Zero Chloe, discard 1 Hololive character when stand on stage to waiting room. Deck search a 3-2 Laplace Darkness, or the rare 0 Louis, which is the one that we see in the Laplace Darkness, and in the pay 1 rest this, review the 3-2 Laplace Darkness, and then top 3 add 1 Hololive character or the Holo X event. So yeah, it's pretty good. You'll probably run this card in the Gen 6 engine. Just ASCII, when placed on stage, your hand, choose 1 of the Hololive characters against 1k. CX combo, return this to hand, send 1 standby CX in your climax area to waiting room. When standby CX is placed in your climax area, you break the cost. If you do, search your deck for 1 Hololive character, show to your opponent, add it to hand, and shuffle your deck. So unluckily, this card cannot be spammed because it requires you to send the standby CX from your climax area to waiting room. So it doesn't plus you a lot. But other than that, yeah, if it does, it's pretty much insane because you can just keep looping it and keep passing 3. You deck search for like any character and add it to your hand. But other than that, yeah, it's an okay card, I would say. Yeah, for level 0. 1-0 Hato, if this card has a marker underneath, it gains 5k power and 1 soul. And when placed on stage your hand, choose 1 copy of this card in your waiting room and put it underneath this card face up as a marker. So it requires multiple copies of herself, both in your hand and waiting room in order for it to gain 5k power at once. So ideally you wouldn't run it, but it's quite funny to run it in like some jank as budget build, I would say. 1-0 Rainy, discard one card when placed on stage in your hand. Choose one cost 0 or lower character from your waiting room, place it on stage in any slot. So first skill is pretty standard, I say. Most like sets will have this kind of card where you call cost 0 or lower from waiting room. And when attack, choose one of other Hololive characters, it gains 1k. So I guess it compensates for its low power, which is only 3k. But other than that, you are most likely calling a cost 0, so you can call your level 1 CS, you can call Brainstorm, you can call basically utility cards from your waiting room. 1-0 Miko, pay 2 when placed on stage from hand, or send from stage to waiting room. Choose one Hololive character from waiting room, add it to hand. So I guess it's okay. Cost a bit high, but yeah. When it attacks with another Hololive character, this card gains 3k. So it's 6k 5 level 1, decent I would say, but for the first skill, ideally you wouldn't run this card as well because of the cost. It's on place on stage or when sent from stage to waiting room. So I guess that's one redeeming factor, but pay 2 is still pretty high cost. 1-0 Marine, send one of your other Hololive characters on stage to waiting room. When placed on stage from hand, review top card is a Hololive character or the Gen 3 event in the trial deck. You add it to hand. And when this attacks, if all your characters are Hololive, choose one of your characters this turn against plus 2k. Decent, I would say. I actually never seen Gen 3 event, so we can actually go and take a look at it right now. Let's see, Gen 3 event. This is Gen 3. What is the Gen 3 event? Wait. I have no idea. Oops. Gen 3 event? What the Gen event? I actually have... Oh, it's this. Oh my god, it's this. So it's pay 1, a level 2 event. Choose up to 2 characters from waiting room, return them back to hand. Choose one card from your hand, basically waiting room. Oh my god. Yeah, ideally you wouldn't want to run it at all. So yeah, you wouldn't want to run this card. Unless you're really hell-bent on running Gen 3 because you really love Gen 3. Your Oshis are all in Gen 3 or something. But other than that, yeah, if you're running a Gen 3 deck, then sure, you can run this card. 1-1 Polka, if you have 2 or more harder Hololive characters, it gains plus 2k. And Con Memory, when it attacks, if you have standby 6, choose one level X or lower Hololive character in waiting room, add it to hand, and this turn it gains 1k. So it's 8k 5 if you have the 6 combo, and X equals the number of cards in memory with different names. So probably best run in a Gen 5 deck. Problem is with this card is when you can actually obtain at least like 1 or 2 different cards in your memory with different card names in order to salvage the X or lower. So it really depends on your early game and how much stock you can use in order to send cards from the field or from your hand to memory. 2-1 Louis, anti-level backup, pay 2, stack 1, choose one opponent's character whose highest level than opponent's level and send to waiting room. So it's pretty standard backup. 2-1 Roboco, assist 2k to level 3 higher characters. Rest this at the start of your attack phase. If this is standing, you may pay the cost. Choose one of your characters, it gains a vulnerability when your card's battle point in reverse. You may send that character to top of your opponent's deck. This card does not stand during its turn phase. So guarantees 1 free damage in a sense, as long as you reverse. So you send one of your opponent's card from field to top deck, so it's guaranteed 1 damage, and this card does not stand for obvious reasons. So yeah, it's a decent card, I would say. 2-2 Nene, change, pay 1, ditch 1, send this to mana. At the start of your card phase, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one towards the future Momo Suzu Nene in your waiting room and place it on stage in his card's form slot. Good card in a sense where you are able to cheat this out in level 1 if you're actually lucky enough to actually do it. This card, which you'll get to right now, it's the old level 3 Nene. It doesn't heal on place, but as long as you have 3 or more cards in memory against the 2 abilities, when you receive damage you receive is not cancelled, and if this card is in front row, like top deck, you may place it on top deck or waiting room. On call ditch 1 character, and on attack it sets combo mill 1 if the card is level 1 or higher, deal 3 damage. So yeah, pretty interesting that you can cheat out the level 3 easily, but other than that, it's yeah, it's a pretty good card, I would say. Zizia Hato, when placed on stage on hand or when sent on stage to waiting room, choose one opponent characters until end opponent's turn against the following ability. Con cannot move to other slots, pretty much an irrelevant card. Zizio Nene, place 1 RR Lami, which you'll get to later, since it's blue, in your memory underneath this card as a face up as a marker. When it attacks, you impale cost, you do against 1k power and 2 soul. As start of opponent's attack phase, you may move this to an empty front row slot. You probably wouldn't run this card. Unless you're really desperate. But most of the time, you want to leave the Lamy in your memory because it constitutes part of your compression. You wouldn't want to decompress yourself for no absolute no reason. Jojo Polka, when placed on stage from hand, you have 2 or less cards in your memory. Choose 1 copy of this in your waiting room, send it to memory. So I guess it's free compression. And when this is reversed, top 3 add 1 Gen 5 character or the Hololive 5th generation event. Send the Western waiting room and discount on card. So I guess it's pretty good because it sends a free copy of herself from waiting room to memory as long as you have 2 or less cards in memory. At the same time, it allows you to dig for a Gen 5 character or more importantly, dig for your Gen 5 event, which is this Gen 5 event. So choose 1 Gen 5 character in waiting room, add to hand, ditch 1. Choose 1 characters distant, Gen 5 characters distant against the vulnerability when placed on stage from a waiting room. When placed into waiting room from stage, you may place this card back into previous slot as rest. So yeah. Sorry. Zero Miko, all of your characters gains vulnerability, this cannot start attack, so for a good reason, because it's 3k5. And when this card's battle point reverts with another Hololive character, choose 1 of your opponent's front row level 0 or low character, you may send it to waiting room. So, interesting card. It's a pretty good card actually. So it bombs one of your opponent's level 0 front row as long as you reverse one of your opponent's, when this card reverses one of your opponent's cards, you can bomb one of their level 0 characters. Pretty standard play, I would say, in some sets, like Princess Connect has like one of these cards as well. Once your Ayame experience, you have a blue card in your zone against 3k. Discard 1 card when placed on stage in your hand, deck search 1 copy of this, show it to your opponent, place it on stage in any slot and shuffle your deck. So, probably wouldn't run it. It's just 6k5 that calls itself out from deck, I guess. So yeah, that's about it. A 1-0 Robocall during a turn against plus 2k, and pay 1 send this card to waiting room when your other Hololive is front attack. You may pay the cost if you do return that character to hand. Interesting card, I would say. In a red deck, it's fine, but problem is it's level 1. Crony does that as well, which we'll get to later in the blue section. But it's level 0, so I guess if you're running a more red color deck, you can have the option of running this. While in the blue deck, you ideally want to opt to run Crony instead. 1 jewelry for each other back row Hololive character against 1k. On attack, 2 or more Hololive characters, top 2, choose 1 card among them, put it back on top, send the Western room. Pretty standard, I would say. Doesn't really give much any plusing engine or anything. It's just filtering and manipulating the top 2 cards of your deck, I would say. 1-1 Choco, when you use this card backup, choose 1 card from a level zone and 1 card in your waiting room and swap them. So it's a level 1 4k backup, that's why it has that weird ability. But in the sense that you can combo with Ayame, this Ayame that we just went through, that swaps 1 card in your level and waiting room. So it's this card there. Choose 1 card from your level zone and 1 card in your waiting room, we swap them. So I guess the combo is there, just because it's a 4k backup, that's why it has that inbuilt weird ability. We have to swap 1 climax and 1 card in your level zone. 2-1 Chloe ties in with this 2-1 Marine. This is 2-1 Marine below. You have another front row 2-1 Marine against 4k, and then discard 1 character when placed on stage in your hand. Choose 1 2-1 Marine in your waiting room and place it on stage in any slot. So this 2-1 Marine is if you have another front row Chloe against the following 2 abilities against 5k during your turn. And during your opponent's turn, when this is reversed, if the battle opponent is level 2 or lower, you may reverse the character. So it's level 2 and below bomb. And at the start of opponent's attack phase, choose 1 of your 2-1 Chloe and discard, you may stand and swap them. So, interesting, I would say. Probably run it in the budget deck. You wouldn't run it in the actual deck because it's really weird. It doesn't really offer much utility other than just swapping around and being a level 2 bomb. 2-1 Anya, this card is really good, I would say. During your turn with 4 more other characters against 5k, so 12k, and con. During this card, battle, your opponent cannot play events or backup. So it's pretty much a level 3 killer most of the time, 12k, and your opponent cannot play backup in order to save that level 3 or anything. Pay on ditch 1 and when placed on stage and deck search 1 climax with a door trigger, show your opponent add to hand and shuffle your deck. So ideally you want to run this with Ollie, probably. Ollie, since she's a door 6 climax combo as well. Or you can run this in Gen 6 if you're really insane to deck search a Chloe level 1 CX for some reason if you really want to. So yeah, other than that, it's a decent card actually. It's a really good card, I would say, that allows you to deck search any door climax combo trigger. Yeah, for pay on each one. Essentially pay 2 each one because you have to pay 1 for the cost of calling her. So yeah, that's about it for red, I think. So you can see all the different CXs. Last but not least, we have blue. So I think blue is probably one of the more stacked colors in the whole set. So we have first Zero Lami. When this attacks, if all your characters are Hololive, choose one of your characters against 1k. And then auto pay 1, put 1 character in the waiting room to the bottom of the clock, send this to memory. When this is reversed, you may look at top 4, up to top 4, choose 1 character from among them, show your opponent, add to hand, and send the rest to the waiting room. So really strong card, really good for Gen 5 and basically any other deck actually for in terms of compression, because you are able to send this card to memory at the same time having the option of getting 1 card back. So any card as long as it's a character from the top 4 cards of your deck. Jojo Muna, Japan's favorite ability. Discard 1 card when it comes to space, reveal top card. Choose 1 level X or lower character in the waiting room, add it to hand. X equals the level of the review card. So it's loopable as long as you play a climax every time. And then pretty much a brainstorm skill, pay 1 rest, this flip top 4. For each climax, deck search 1 character, add it to hand. So it's really good, I would say, because it provides the needed utility every time when you play a climax. You are able to fix your head. At the same time, it's a brainstormer, so provides even more utility. So that's why I think these 2 cards are pretty stacked, especially in blue. Now this card is the useless card in the whole, probably one of the more useless cards in the whole set, because Hololive has so much stacked level 0s that you wouldn't want to run this card, even though it's a double rare. So it's a Shion, con all your opponent characters gain on-call pay 2. It's a 3k5 center front rows runner. That's basically it. So as our opponent attack phase, you may move this to empty front row center slot. Problem is, Hololive is just so stacked. The level 0 game is pretty insane. There's so many good level 0s. And having this card, which is like a 3k5 runner to center front row slot only, really downgrades like the usefulness of this card at all, because there are way better level 0s that you actually run other than this card. So yeah, okay, the most stacked level 3 of the whole set, the most OP, Golgura. Con, if all your characters are Hololive against 3k, so it's 11k, even all your opponent's turn. On plays, you may heal 1. And then pay 2 ditch 1 when it's attacked. If you have Pen CX and you have 6 or less hand, you may pay the cost. If you do, deal 2, and then resolve the following effect twice. Mill the top card of the deck. If that card has a soul trigger, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So the probability of you dealing 7, someone actually went and calculated, it's like 96 or 97%. It's an insane amount of, it's insane high percentage that you kill your opponent if you're actually 3-laning Gura on your turn, or your finishing turn. So in order for you to 3-lane Gura, you need at least 10 stock to resolve the full ability. 10 stock, and if I'm not wrong, is 3, 4, 7. You have 7 head. So 3 Guras, 1 of a climax, and then 3 random other cards. So total 7 cards and 10 stock in order to resolve the full ability. And since there are cards in the deck that constitute a lot of soul triggers, like example 1-0 Mori, which is free. We have a 0-0 Ina, which you'll get to later, which has a soul trigger. I think this card's pretty busted as hell. So yeah, most of the time you will actually hit the soul trigger and deal 1 damage to your opponent. So it's actually quite insane, cause it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 instances of damage being dealt to your opponent. So you deal 2 for the ability. Golgura's attack is 1. So deal 2 is another one. And then you mill the top card of the deck. If there's soul trigger, you deal 1. And you perform the effect twice. So you deal another 1. So it's 4 instances of you possibly dealing like 4 or more damage to your opponent in one shot. So it's pretty strong. I think it's kind of broken in my opinion, especially when decks such as Kana Marine evolving into become Kanata Gura instead, so that they can farm and compress a lot of their stock. give a lot of stock, tempo on level 2, and then once they feel that they push their opponent enough to level 3 or closer to level 3, they'll just flood with Guras and then just try to end your opponent off from there. And since Kanata, CX, and level 2s play Soul, you ideally have a high Soul count deck as well. So yeah, 3-2 Riso, I think this card in comparison to Gura is kind of ass. So on place of stage your hand, you may heal 1. At start of our attack phase, you have a pen 6 in your climax area, and you have another Hololive character against one of the following 2 abilities. So when it attacks, you choose one character in your waiting room, add it to hand, choose one character in your waiting room, send to stock. Or when this card's battle point in reverse, you may send it to clock. So yeah, I wish it was both, but if you gain both abilities, I think it's kind of broken. But yeah, you can early play this card, just saying, for people that think that what doesn't make sense for you to use the first ability when you're already at level 3 and you call this card. But you can call this card when you're level 2 or lower with one of the supporting cards below. So we'll get to that. But in comparison to Gura, of course, Gura is dealing 4 instances of damage, while Risu is just conditional on reverse clock kick. So if you do not reverse your opponent, you are unable to resolve the clock kick combo. So yeah, you can see the vast disparity between both cards, even though they are both double rares. Azusa Pekora, so it's pretty meme. I like this card a lot. Marcus Chan loves this card a lot. Like, one of my friends really like this card. So it's the Infinite Stock Glitch. Pay 1 at start of your main phase, you may pay the cost. If you do, reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck, shuffle your deck. If you reveal a climax among them, you may send up to 2 cards from the top of your deck to stock. So yeah, you can just keep resolving at the start of your main phase every turn to gain a free stock if you do hit the climax. And then Brainstorm, pay 1, flip top 4, for each climax you salvage 1. So it's pretty good, I would say. They are the broken card of the set, Ina, a level 0 with a soul icon. On plays, you may scry top 2 and rearrange, and then pay 1 dish on climax, you salvage 1 climax. So it's a climax stopper, and on plays, you scry and rearrange top 2. I really don't understand why Bushwick prints a soul trigger level 0. I think it's just the most broken thing in the world, where you can actually push your opponent really, really hard if they are breaking, or like if they do not have like much many climaxes left in the deck, and then you are able to do damage for free just because this card has a inbuilt soul trigger. If you notice, like, most cards that has soul trigger is level 1 with a 1 cost attached, or level 2 or level 3. It's usually a level 2 or level 3, but usually has a cost attached. So when cards like this are printed with 0 cost, like Ina and Calliope, level 1 0 Calliope, I think it's really strong. 00 Noel, this card is basically what we talked about, where I talked about in earlier sections where it combos with Flare. If this card has a marker underneath, it gets 1 level and 1k 5 power, so it's a level 1 3k. And when placed on stage, your hand reveal top card. If it's a character, put this underneath as a marker, and at start of opponent attack phase, you may move this to an empty front row slot with your character across from it. So it doesn't die to level 0 bombs as long as it's a marker, and it's a 3k chaser, I would say. So the art is obviously, the art. You can see boobs, so it's an expensive card, but at the same time, it's a really good card. So it's 3k chaser that doesn't die to level 0 bombs. 00 Crony, I think the art is amazing as well, but yeah, other than that, the skill is pretty good. During your turn, if all the characters are Hololive, it gains 1 level and 1k 5. So it's 3k 5, cannot die to level 0 bomb. And pay 1, send this to waiting room. When your other Hololive character is front attack, you pay the cost, you do return that character to hand. So it's a savior, like Roboko back in the red section where I mentioned that blue Crony also does the exact same thing. 1-0 Aqua, I think this card is really strong as well. When placed on stage in your hand, this gains X amount of power, X equals the number of Hololive characters times 100. And when it attacks, all your other characters gains the following ability. Pay 1, when this card trigger check and reveals the climax, you may pay the cost. If you do, put a top card of deck to stop, draw up to 1, then discard 1. So it's really strong, especially if you're playing in an 8 pens deck like Gura, because on attack you give all your other characters not all your other characters, all your characters, when trigger check reveals the climax. So if you check pens, you're able to pay that pens out from the stock, and then blind stock 1, then draw one card and then discard one card. So you can resolve the Pens effect first to salvage Pens from your waiting room back to your hand, and then after that you draw one and you discard the Pens back into your waiting room. So it's essentially like a free +1. It's a really good card. 1-0 Mumi as well is pretty good if you want to tie in with Gura. If you don't want to play Mori Calliope, but in a sense you should probably play Mori because of the Soul Trigger icon. When it attacks, you have another Hololive character gives 1k5, and when this attacks, if you have CX and all your characters are Hololive, look at one card from the top of the deck, choose one character or event from among them, show to your opponent, add to your hand, send the rest to the waiting room, and then choose one Hololive character in the waiting room, add to your hand, discard one card. So it's essentially review top if it's a character or event, add to hand, and then you salvage one, discard one. So it's really good, I think. As long as you don't hit a climax, it's almost essentially a free +1. 1-1 Botan, so yeah, my Oshi, backup 2k, pay 1, send this from hand to memory. So interesting card, I would say. It's pretty good in a Gen 5 deck. You probably like run 1 or 2 copies because it's a counter that helps you compress for the cost of pay 1. Problem is it's only 2k. I wish it was like 2k5, but that might be a bit strong. So we have a 1-1 Lofi, assist level X 500 to characters. As start of card says, choose one of the Hololive characters. This turn gives X amount of power. X equals to the level characters times 1000. X, rest this choose one of other characters until end of opponent next turn gains +1 level. So the reason why for the last skill is because it's a level assist. So if you give 1 level to one of the characters until end of opponent next turn, it actually gives power. And since at the start of card says, choose one Hololive characters against X power, X equals to a character's level, it really helps in pumping more power as well. So you can run this in most of the decks. You can run it in Gura, you can run it in Kana Gura as well. I think it's a really good card. Treat to say the $5,000 card if you get the SSP. When placed on stage, you may heal 1 as start of attack phase. If you have pen 6, and this is front row, choose one of the following 2 effects and resolve it. You may send all of your opponent's characters to memory. If you do, place them on your opponent's stage in separate slots. So it's quite interesting that you can blink. It's basically a blinker. Blink your opponent's whole field. So it cuts decks like Overlord, any decks that minus Soul, in a sense like Sora, that kind. Or during this turn, it gains vulnerability. Pay 1 each one when attacks, you may deal 2. So it's either or. You choose one of the either or effects depending on your matchup. It's okay, I would say. Plus, you can early play this Suisei finisher, which we'll get to later. So yeah, let's just move on. So it's a decent card, I would say. When placed on stage, your hand, choose one of opponent's back row characters whose level is higher than opponent's level doesn't stand. So anti-standby, I would say. Discard one character when placed on stage, your hand, or when this attacks, you may play the card, you do draw 1. So yeah, for standby probably is a pretty good card for standby. Zero Crony, pay 1 each one. When this card is placed on stage your hand, shuffle all cards from waiting room back to your deck. So it's a free, so-called free fresh for pay 1 each one. It's a shift level 0 as well, so you are able to obtain it. So from your clock. We have a 1-0 Noel. Discard one climax, send one of the other characters on stage to waiting room. When placed on stage your hand, choose one climax from waiting room, add it to hand. So it's a convoluted way of not paying stock for a climax swap. And when this attacks against X amount of power, X equals the number of opponent characters times 500. 1-0 Muna, when placed on stage your hand, you have another character against 2k. And when attacks, your level of the character across is 2 against plus 6k. So Alice Killers, I would say, yeah. You can look at the recent Chainsaw Man reviews. It's basically targeting Alice at most of the decks now. I'm basically targeting the level 2 Alice at this point. 1-1 Shion, assist X times 500 to Gen 2 characters. When a climax is placed in a climax area, choose one of the characters against 1k. Rest this, choose one card in your level zone and 1 Gen 2 character in your waiting room and swap them. So yeah, I guess this is quite specific to Gen 2 only, so probably only run in the Gen 2 deck. 2-1 Botan, I think this card is really strong. I mean, of course it's Botan. When placed on stage your hand, mill 3, if there's climax, choose one of opponent's level 3 or lower front row characters, send it to waiting room. So it immediately gets rid of one of your opponent's level 3 or lower front row characters if you hit a climax. And when reversed, you may send this to memory, free compression for 1 stock. And it's anti-level as well, so when it's reversed, if your battle opponent's level is higher than opponent level, send that character to the bottom of your opponent's deck. So it doesn't just send to waiting room, it sends to bottom deck. At the same time, it's compresses for 1 stock. And if you do happen to meet a climax, you just get rid of one of your opponent's level 3 or front row characters for free. 2-1 Bakura, con assist 1k5. When you place on stage from your hand, choose one Hololive character in your team room, place it face down underneath this as a marker. During your turn, when this card with a marker is sent from stage waiting room, you have another Hololive character, you may return this to the stage in its former slot rested. So in a sense, it's like a savior. Yeah, it's like a savior of her own, for her own card. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, I would say, but never really seen much play. So yeah, the 2-1 Suicide, which you'll get to right now, is probably more playable, which it helps you cheat out the helps you cheat out the new 2-1 Toa or the 3-2 Aqua, which is below. During your turn, for each of your Hololive characters, you gain 1k5. Discard one card when placed on your hand, choose one 2-1 Toa, which is the above that we got to, or the 3-2 Aqua below, from waiting room, add it to hand. Pay on each one, return this back to your hand. At start of your opponent's left, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one other Hololive characters, return it to hand. So, in a sense, it helps to filter your deck for filter for either Toa or Aqua, and helps you save one of your characters, as long as you pay the cost, you pay on each one as start of opponent's attack phase. So the 3-2 Aqua is if you have the new 2-1 Toa and the new 2-1 Suicide, it gets -1 level, so it's early play. On plays, you may draw 2 each one, and this ability can be activated after once per turn. When your character in your front row center slot attacks, you may pay 1 each 2. Reveal top card attack is a Hololive character stand list, so it's a convoluted way of a restander. So essentially, you will need quite a bit of hand and specific setup in order to actually early play this card. So quite interesting. I haven't seen any deck list floating around playing this new Aqua yet, but it might have potential in the future. 0 Aqua, discard on climax when placed on stage from your hand. You may choose one character, salvage, and then experience 2 when placed on stage from your hand. If your level in your level zone is 2 or more, look at top 2, choose one card from among them, add to your hand, send away to the waiting room, and then discard 1. Standard, I would say. So yeah, this Luffy and this Suicide is what early plays the Risu level 3 and Suicide level 3. Con, if you're level 2 or higher against the following ability, pay 1 each one, send this to the waiting room, choose 1 3-2 Risu from your hand, place it on stage in this card's former slot. So that's how one of the reasons why you can early play the Risu 3-2. Problem is, it's pay 1 ditch 1, send this to the waiting room, so and place the 3-2 Risu from your hand to stage. So it kind of minus you quite a bit already. Con, during your turn, if all your characters are Hololive, it gains 1 level and 3k5 power, so it's 4k, I guess, and level 1, so it doesn't die to level 0 bomb. When this card battle opponent, reverse, choose one Hololive character with you, add to hand, and then discard 1. So yeah, I guess it helps you filter your hand as well. If you reverse, you salvage 1 each one. 0 Suicide, when a climax is placed in a climax area, choose one of characters against 2k. Pay 1, send this to waiting room when pen CX is placed. If you're level 2 or higher, choose 1 3-2 Suicide in your hand, place it on stage in this card's former slot. So yeah, I think this card shares the same pen CX as the Suicide level 3. It should, if I'm not wrong, yeah, 145. So in the sense that you're able to early play the Suicide at level 2, for pay 1, send this to waiting room is pretty decent, I would say. Yeah, and it gives power as well. 0 bottom, when placed on stage your hand, you have 4 or less memory, choose 1 Gen 5 in your waiting room and 1 card in your memory, you may swap them. So I guess if it matters, because of your 1-1 Poka where it says for each of your for each different card in your memory. So yeah. Pay on each one, when placed, you may choose 1 character in your waiting room, add it to hand, and then choose one of your characters against 1k power. Pretty standard pay on each one, salvage 1. 1-0 Bakura, when placed on stage for hand, choose one of your characters against 1k5. In reverse, if your spell opponent's cost 0 or lower, you may send that character to the bottom of opponent's stack. I guess in the sense where it's only 2k, so it's like a level, it's like a cost 0 bomb, in a sense, yeah. You probably wouldn't play it as well. Once you're shown during your opponent's turn, for each of your other barrel characters, it gains 1k. When this attacks, choose one of other characters, this turn it gets X amount of power, X equals the character's soul times 1000. Probably wouldn't run this as well, probably in a more budget build than you will run this. 1-0 Ina, this is basically run in Kanagura, I would say now. During your turn, if all the characters are Hololive, it gains plus 2k. And accelerate, put 1 character from waiting room to the bottom of the clock. At start of climax phase, you may pay the cost. So the top card of the deck, put it at top or bottom, and then against the vulnerability on reverse, you may salvage one. So yeah, it's pretty good because it doesn't cost stock. At the same time, it helps you turbo up to level 2 for your Kanata play if you're playing Kana, Gura, Kana Marine. So you ideally run this card. 1/1 Lami, the cost of your character across from this level 0 or lower, this cannot be reversed. And memory, when this attacks, if you have 2 or more cards in memory, choose up to 2 of your characters against plus 2k. Probably more relevant in the Gen 5 deck only, but ideally you wouldn't run this as well. 2/1 Noel, assist X500. When placed on stage, your hand choose one card from the bottom of your card and one character in waiting room, you may swap them. And then bond discard one to the Shanui Flare 019 or the new Flare 32 Flare 013. So this Shanui Flare, if I'm not wrong, actually don't know which Flare is it. 3019. It will probably be this. I think it's either nope, it might be this. Nope. 019, right? Yeah, 019. I actually have no idea which flare card it is. It's probably one of these flare cards somewhere here. Maybe it's this. Yeah, this. So yeah, it's probably bond to this card. So yeah, ideally you want to search out the new level 3, I guess. You'll probably run new level 3. So yeah, that's about it, I think. Other than the PR, so yeah. Noraka, pay 1, leech 1. It's basically the same as Bay. When placed on stage or hand or when sent to the waiting room, top 3 add 1 card. And then this is the PR Iris for the tournament, shop tournament. Your opponent's level 3 or higher character, it gains -1 level, so it's early play. During the time when you place a stage in your hand, all your characters gains 2k5 and the following ability. When reversed, you may send that to top. You may send the top card of opponent's card to waiting room if you send that character to clock. So it's really good against standby. It's like insane standby killer. Your whole field just gains 2k5 for no reason. And on reverse, clock kick. So it really helps a lot. I think hopefully I do get this card and then I can probably run it in some of my decks. Jojo ASCII, same, is a PR. All your opponent characters gains encore gain pay 2 because it's 3k5. Pay on each one when placed on stage in your hand. Deck search one character at your hand. So it's basically the same as TD Miko. HR, when placed on stage in your hand, if another horror character, choose up to 2 cards in your hand, send them to stock in any order. And then when placed on stage in your hand, it gains 1k5 power. So it's 3k5. And if you have excess hand, you can actually send up to 2 cards from hand to stock. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you dominators like this. I think overall, Hololive Volume 2 is like a 8 or 9 out of 10. Gura is just insanely strong. It has cards like Calliope and Ina with free soul for absolutely no reason. And with the birth of Kanata Gura now, I think it's actually a tier 1 deck. Blue is basically the most stacked color of the set because it has so much utility and so much good cards. And yeah, other than that, I'll see you Dominators in the next set review, which will be Disney 100. So yeah, thank you much for Dominators for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.